Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 7 o'clock main news. In tonight's headlines, His Highness the Emir patronises the 44th meeting of Arab financial institutes and Arab finance ministers. The National Assembly holds an ordinary session in which it approves a number of letters on its agenda. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior lauds efforts of the Fire Department personnel over successfully containing the fire that broke out at the General Directorate of Information Systems. And the Saudi-led coalition forces are exerting all efforts to facilitate the evacuation of foreigners in Yemen. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah will patronise the final ceremony of the 6th Kuwait International Competition for the memorisation and recitation of the Holy Quran, scheduled to be held tomorrow Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. at Bayan Palace Theatre. His Highness has deputised the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah to attend the ceremony. The 44th Arab Financial Institutes and the Arab Finance Ministers meeting kicked off today at Kuwait Sheraton Hotel under the patronage of His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah and in the presence of the Acting Premier and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid Al Hamad Al Sabah. In his speech, the Acting Prime Minister noted the importance of this event in light of the current economic challenges in the region and stressed the necessity of adopting various policies to achieve economic and social development while also creating a joint Arab roadmap. Meanwhile, Sheikh Sabah Al Khalid referred to Kuwait's role in supporting Arab cooperation, mainly the establishment of the Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development, or KFAD, in 1961 as the first Arab development organization to fund projects in growing countries. On the other hand, the Minister of Finance of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Dr. Ibrahim bin Abdulaziz Al Assaf, praised His Highness the Emir's role in supporting joint Arab social and economic programs. Al Assaf also praised the role played by financial institutions in the Arab countries in collaboration with numerous international foundations, despite all regional and international challenges. The meeting was attended by Sheikhs, ministers, senior state officials, officials of the Arab financial institutions and members of the diplomatic corps accredited to Kuwait. His Highness the Emir Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of condolences to the family of the late Iraqi leading cleric Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Bahr Al Ulum. In his cable, His Highness the Emir prayed to Almighty Allah to bestow mercy on the cleric's soul, paying tribute to his high religious status and remarkable national stances in serving his homeland and the issues of the Islamic nation. His Highness the Deputy Emir and Crown Prince Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmed Al Jaber Al Sabah sent a cable of condolences to the family of the late Iraqi leading cleric Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Bahr Al Ulum. His Highness Sheikh Jaber Al Mbarak Al Hamad Al Sabah, the Prime Minister, also sent a similar cable. The National Assembly Speaker Marzouk Ali Al Ghanem met today with the visiting Algerian Minister of Justice Al Tayyib Louh and his accompanying delegation. The officials discussed ways of developing and bolstering the Kuwaiti-Algerian cooperation in various fields, mainly judicial and legal ones. The meeting was attended by MP Hamoud Al Hamdan and the Minister of Justice and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs Yaqub Al Sani. In its session today, the National Assembly turned over to the government a proposal for amending the 2010 law regarding the establishment of shareholding Kuwaiti companies specialising in the construction of power plants and water desalination plants. This comes as the National Assembly also agreed today to assign a parliamentary committee to assess the implementation of proposals that came after the grilling motion against the Minister of Public Works and Minister of Electricity and Water, Abdulaziz Al Ibrahim, on April 4th. More details in the following report by Hiba Abdurrahman.
The National Assembly turned today over to the government a proposal for amending the 2010 law regarding the establishment of shareholding Kuwaiti companies specializing in the construction of power plants and water desalination plants. The proposal was approved in its second reading by the lawmakers. Minister of Electricity and Water Ahmed Al-Jasir said during the Assembly's regular session today that the proposal for the amendment would give the Ministry of Electricity and Water a free hand in supporting the state's technical apparatus in the study and planning for more power plants and water desalination plants. The amendment states that the Ministry of Electricity and Water can construct however many power and water plants it needs, provided the prior approval of the government. Following the vote on the proposal for the amendment, the lawmakers furthermore endorsed two recommendations related to protecting the environment at the site of the construction of any new power plants and water desalination plants.
Today regarding what we will have in the future, in the nearest future, about many issues, and they would like to discuss also today about the maids and the servants in Kuwait, what we call it, the labor market, maids and all those servants like foreigners, and how we can come up with a law that organize and make it more organized and less messy than what we have it today.
Moreover, the National Assembly agreed also today to assign a parliamentary committee to assess the implementation of proposals that came after the grilling motion against Minister of Public Works and Minister of Electricity and Water Abdulaziz Al-Ibrahim on April 4th. During its regular session, the Parliament also discussed a report by the Audit Bureau regarding the grilling motions against former Minister of Finance Badr Al-Humidi and Minister of Awqaf and Islamic Affairs Abdullah Al-Matoug. The Parliament decided to remove the report from its agenda and referred it to the government for deliberation. The National Assembly approved a motion to revise the report on domestic helpers, postponing discussion on the matter to the April 21st session. A grilling motion against former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Commerce and Industry Dr. Abdul Muhsin Al-Mud'ij was removed by Parliament today due to the resignation of the minister. From the National Assembly, I am Heba Abdulrahman reporting for English News.
The Embassy of the Republic of Senegal in Kuwait organised its 55th National Day celebrations with a reception held at the Regency Hotel. Chief guest of honour was the Acting Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah, who commented on the distinguished relations between Kuwait and the Republic of Senegal, describing it as strong and friendly. Salim Al-Kindri has more details in the following report.
The Embassy of the Republic of Senegal in Kuwait held a reception on the occasion of its 55th Republic National Day celebration held at the Regency Hotel. Kuwait's acting Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah attended the ceremony with various other officials. Sheikh Sabah Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah congratulated the government and the people of Senegal on the occasion and recalled the positive cooperation between the two countries during the Iraqi occupation of Kuwait and the effective participation in the war to liberate Kuwait, in addition to supporting the State of Kuwait's position worldwide. He pointed to his recent visit to the Senegalese capital Dakar, pointing out all aspects of cooperation between the Kuwaiti delegation and the Senegal partners, pointing out that they added to the relationship between the two nations in boosting security and military cooperation. Sheikh Sabah Al-Khalid also pointed out Kuwait's keenness to strengthen relations between the two countries and the partnership between Arab and African countries. Meanwhile, Ambassador of Senegal Mr. Abdul Ahad Mbaki also commented on the strong relationships between the Republic of Senegal and Kuwait and said that the cooperation between the two countries are far more positive and progressing in all fields. He also recalled the positive efforts of Kuwait in providing humanitarian assistance to Senegal during its hard times and thanked Kuwait for all its support. This reception is organized by the Embassy of Senegal, headed by His Excellency the Ambassador. Various dignitaries, both local, regional and also international, are present to celebrate the moment. From the Regency Hotel, this is Salim Kandiri reporting for the English News.
The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior Sheikh Mohammed Al-Khalid Al-Hamad Al-Sabah expressed deep appreciation for all citizens over their cooperation with security authorities and precautionary bodies in extinguishing the fire that broke out yesterday evening at the headquarters of the General Directorate of Information Systems as a result of an electric malfunction. Sheikh Mohammed Khalid also hailed the fire department personnel over successfully containing the fire in record time with minimal material damages and no human losses, referring to their high skills and professional capabilities that contributed to swiftly maintaining and reoperating the information system networks and databases in collaboration with the concerned state bodies, a matter that helped serve the interests of citizens and expatriates without delay. Meanwhile, the Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior checked on the Directorate's operations and networks and assured that the related information services are working smoothly at all concerned security authorities that serve the public, issuing directives on the importance of increasing the precautionary measures to prevent the reoccurrence of such incidents due to the significance of the services provided by the General Directorate of Information Systems. The Saudi-led coalition forces are exerting all efforts to facilitate any obstacles facing the stranded ships evacuating foreign nationals from Yemen. That was confirmed by spokesman Brigadier General Ahmed Asiri, who also noted that no military operations were recorded on the Saudi-Yemeni borders over the past few hours. The details in this report.
A decision on a proposal for a 24 hours humanitarian ceasefire in Yemen lies on the negotiation table of the political leaders of the GCC member states. In his daily press briefing, the spokesman for Brigadier General Ahmed Asiri underlined the Saudi-led coalition forces are exerting all efforts to facilitate any obstacles facing the stranded ships evacuating foreign nationals from Yemen. Asiri reiterated the coalition's desire to facilitate the evacuation of foreigners and to provide humanitarian services to the Yemeni people as soon as possible. He stressed that the safety of the population is a top priority for the coalition forces. Therefore, they would not be preoccupied at this stage with the activities of Al-Qaeda elements who are sheltering in the densely populated areas in Al-Mukalla. He also noted that no military operations were recorded on the Saudi-Yemeni borders over the past few hours. Meanwhile, the International Committee of the Red Cross and UNICEF plan to fly aid planes into Yemen later today after 11 staff members were evacuated yesterday. In addition, coalition aircraft continued in the past 24 hours the bombardment and targeting of Houthi militias' weapons and ammunition storages, camps, and the main supplying routes. The Saudi-led military Operation Decisive Storm in Yemen also shelled the Houthis' Air Defense Brigade near the country's fourth largest city of Al-Hudaydah. The coalition also destroyed a missiles depot belonging to the militias west of the capital Sana'a. Earlier, Saudi Defense Minister His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman received UN Resident Coordinator at the kingdom, Ashok Nigam, who delivered a letter from the UN praising his country's humanitarian efforts in Yemen. During the meeting, Nigam thanked Prince Mohammed for the quick response and help of the kingdom to evacuate UN staff from Yemen. The United Nations backs Hadi as Yemen's legitimate leader in the face of a Houthi coup that has plunged the Arab state deeper into chaos.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that his government is ready to extend political and financial support to Iraq in its fight against terrorism. Lavrov told Iraq's parliament speaker Salim Jabouri that Russia expresses solidarity with Iraqis as well as readiness to support the country politically, morally and financially. The remarks came as US-led forces continued to conduct airstrikes against the so-called Daesh group, targeting its positions near Beiji, Mosul and Ramadi. Our correspondent in Baghdad, Walid Al-Ta'i, has more in this report.
The new Iraqi military strategy will move forward, reinforcing the defense systems of the armed forces divisions, completely changing the classic methodology that was used years ago, whether in weapons techniques or machinery, replacing those previously used with other battles that are not battle-worthy.
Iraq has friendly relations with Russia, and also part of Iraqi weapons arsenal is from Russia. So the Russian role in the region is effective, and Russia must take care of its interests in this place.
Sources have told us that Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, have assured Iraq that his country will support many aspects, including Iraq war against terrorism, emphasizing to add more practical defenses generally will be sought in talks between Iraq and Russia, including the provision of new armored vehicles, weapons and battle master tanks, which should boost Iraqis in winning the battle.
There were jets like Sukhoi and MiGs, with all of its models, were presented and provided to Iraq and its army in critical times, when even the international community, neither the US, have provided Iraqi side with any logical, serious backup.
According to the Iraqi sources, Iraq has been given military priority so it can bring stability to the region and its neighboring countries due to its geographical importance. That is why the international community is working to help Baghdad.
At the first place, Mosul and Fallujah in Ramadi are civil places, and there are many civilians. So in fact, we seek hold-up and accuracy in forming the plans and preparing the battle requirements. To announce the 0 hour, which we cannot determine quickly in military combats.
Iraq military looks forward for better relationships with all its neighbors once it liberates its occupied territories from the so-called Daesh. Restoring the Iraqi military full stamina requires more than just talks. Full armory with training schedule for the Iraqi military as well the paramilitary. If it is possible, then Iraq will defeat the so-called Daesh. Walid Al-Tai, Kuwait TV, Baghdad.
Fresh fighting was taking place today in the Palestinian refugee camp of Yarmouk on the southern outskirts of the Syrian capital Damascus, with residents reporting a dire humanitarian situation. The so-called Daesh group has been making advances inside the camp, while the Syrian government forces were also launching attacks at the camp, with observers accusing them of using highly inaccurate barrel bombs and shells. Meanwhile, the UN Security Council condemned in an emergency meeting overnight the serious crimes allegedly being committed in the camp by the militants and urged for a rapid and safe evacuation of civilians living there. In other related news, the Lebanese army said today that it has killed 3 militants and wounded 4 others in a raid near the border with Syria. In a statement, the military says it carried out the raid in the hills of Mkhayrmeh based on information that terrorist groups were preparing logistics for combat operations there. Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan held meetings today with his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani at Saadabad Palace. During the meeting, Erdogan said that from now on, Turkey and Iran should take steps based on solidarity. The Turkish president also highlighted that the two countries should overcome obstacles in the way of transportation which are caused by the bureaucracy. For his part, the Iranian president also conveyed positive messages and thanked Turkey for its support of Iran's nuclear program. Rouhani stated that the leaders discussed enhancing border security between Turkey and Iran and reached an agreement about standing up to terrorism. And moving to local financial news, the 3 main indices of the Kuwait Stock Exchange were positive by the end of today's trading session, with the price index gaining 16 points to settle at 6,229 points. The KSX 15 index also put on 6 points and reached the level of 1,027 points. The share of the Gulf Finance House was the top gainer of the day, while that of Ras Al Khaimah Company for White Cement and Constructions suffered the biggest loss. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. And to recap tonight's news, here are the headlines once again. His Highness the Emir patronises the 44th meeting of Arab financial institutions and Arab finance ministers. The National Assembly holds an ordinary session in which it approves a number of letters on its agenda. The Deputy Premier and Minister of Interior lauds efforts of the Fire Department personnel over successfully containing the fire that broke out at the General Directorate of Information Systems. And the Saudi-led coalition forces are exerting all efforts to facilitate the evacuation of foreigners in Yemen. Thank you for joining us.